Welcome to Horrid and Vicious, a true crime podcast. I'm Coda.
And I'm Candy.
And this is episode 13, The Turpin Family House of Horrors.
All right.
Take
so
two.
There's so much with this to apologize for. So, for one, again, it's super late. We said this when we recorded it last time, which is the other problem. We're re-recording because my file got messed up. So it's gone and we have to re-record. So if it's not like, I don't know how to explain it, but Coda's already heard all of this. So she already knows all of it. So if there's like any like thing where it just doesn't sound like it's as big of a reaction as normal, that's just because she's already heard all of it. So
my original reactions will never see the light of day.
Unfortunately, they are donezo. So
dead.
They're dead. The original reactions can't come to the phone right now.
Yeah, unfortunately. But now we get to have secondary reactions, which is,
Yay!
Yay!
It's okay. And this is going to be even later than I intended it to be because of this, because I'm definitely not editing tonight since we're recording right now.
Yeah, it's fine. Honestly, I'm still, trying to pick my case. I'm kind of torn between two right now, so...
That's fair. All right. Well, there are a bunch of trigger warnings for this one. Because this is... Did we say the episode? Oh, my God.
Yeah, 13.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. There's a bunch of trigger warnings. So there's child abuse and neglect and forced imprisonment and, a bunch of different subgenres of abuse, pretty much.
Anything you can think of, pretty much.
So, well, not anything. Not quite.
Mostly.
There's no sexual abuse, to my knowledge. So,
well,
it's bad, but it's missing that one bad thing.
You got a 90% on your
yeah.
shitty behavior exam.
All right. So, in 1984 or 85, it's unclear because there were different articles that said different things here. David Allen Turpin, who was 23 years old, went into Princeton High School in Princeton, West Virginia, and he convinced them to let him sign out his 16-year-old girlfriend, Louise Ann Robinette. And he promised Louise... Wait, what?
We're already off to a bad start here.
Yeah. The 23-year-old
Yikes.
dating a 16-year-old, not
Bro
a
can't
good
find
sign
someone
here.
his age. Bro, find someone your own fucking age. Come on.
Honestly.
Anyway.
And then he promised Louise if she would marry him that he would give her everything she wanted, and they had already been dating for a few months. And then they drove to Texas to try to elope. And they were brought back by authorities because Louise's parents, when they found out that she was signed out of school, were like, oh my God, and it counted as a kidnapping. So
well, yeah, she's a
they
child.
get brought back, but charges aren't pressed or anything. And then her mother actually already knew that they were dating. They had met at church sometime before this and had been dating pretty much since. And when her mother found out, at first she was kind of against it, but because he was like a church boy and his family was all Christians, she was like, I guess it's fine. And then her father did not know, but when he learned it, he saw that his daughter was super in love and decided that he didn't want to take that away from her. So they let them get married anyway, even though she was 16.
No thanks.
So that's kind of gross. Yeah, your 16-year-old was in love. She would be in love with whoever her boyfriend was at that point, whether he was her age or not.
And I said this in the original recording, but I should not marry the person that I dated when I was 16 because I made really bad choices when I was 16 because I was a dumb, stupid, idiot teenager. 16-year-olds should not be marrying anybody.
Honestly, even 18-year-olds, legally you can do it, but you shouldn't.
No, you shouldn't do it at all.
You're very young to be making that decision.
Your brain is 9 years away from bebeing fully developed. So no.
More than 9 if you have any form of trauma.
Yeah.
Or mental illness. Those delay it.
Yeah, I always forget about that. Because I think I'm so normal, but then I'm like, no. No, girl, you're
going to be 40 when your brain's fully developed.
Honestly, me on my deathbed, my brain's fully developed.
Oh my God. I can see things so clearly now.
I can see clearly now the rain is gone. And also I'm dying.
My temporal lobe. Oh my god, I'm dying. Anyway,
YOLO.
we agree that was stupid.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, please
But-
do not let your 16-year-old child get married, especially
Yeah.
not to a 23-year-old man.
Yeah, and here's the thing. With all the stuff that comes later, I don't know whose idea it was or how they made the decisions to do these things, but they both end up being bad people. So I don't know how that happened. I don't know if, like, David put that onto her, but she seemed pretty content to do the things that they did, which is
Well, you've said
a lot of
this
that happened
before.
as she was a grown adult. So
You've said this before, where you can feel bad for the child version of a shitty person because that child is innocent, but once they're an adult and they're making their own choices and they're choosing to be a shitty person, then, you know, we can't feel bad for you anymore.
And she was
Sorry.
18 before they had their first child. So they proceeded to have 13 kids. And the first
Which
one was
still
born in
boggles my
1989.
mind.
Yeah. For such a long time, too. She was really fertile, I guess.
Yeah.
'Cause the first was born in 1989 and the last one was born in 2015. That's like a really
Which
long
is crazy to me.
range to be having children for.
She's like just pregnant all the time.
No, like perpetually.
Yeah, like she's addicted to it. My strange
Apparently.
addiction.
That
Being
sounds like
pregnant.
hell, though. I mean, it's literally. I mean, some
Honestly.
people do get addicted to it, though. I mean, there are people who
They
have
do.
like said that before.
No, it's a real thing.
I think it's the attention part, not the actual
Well-
pregnancy part, most of the time.
I said that in the original recording, but yes, I also think though, because when you give birth, you release so many hormones, you forget how horrible it was.
Yeah. Well, you don't forget how horrible the pregnancy was, though. You forget how horrible the labor was.
Yeah, true. Well, some people have like really easy pregnancies.
Yeah, maybe she was one of those people. I don't know her life.
I'm an endo
I know-
girly, so
I know a decent amount about her life
see.
after her marriage. I don't really know much about her other than that, though.
yeah, that's valid.
And I
But
only
like
know
I
the
said-
bad stuff she did. I don't know if she was going through stuff or whatever, really, but there's no excuse.
No, there's not.
So, for the first few years of their marriage, things seemed like they were going well. And they moved a few times, but they were living in really nice houses. And they were doing well because David had a job where he was making six figures. And this was like late 80s and 90s. So you could
Why
afford
can't I
like a
make-
good life at that time. Except by 1992, they were already struggling because they were just living like way too lavishly for his paychecks.
Crazy to me.
Which
by
is
the
crazy
way.
because like where I live, making six figures like isn't even enough to have like a good life now. But at that time, that was incredible. Like that would have really done wonders for
I
you.
think if I made six figures, it would change me.
I think it would still be good for me. Like it would be
It would
a little
change my
better.
life.
My life isn't bad right now. I will say that. Like it's mostly comfortable. It would be more comfortable in a bigger house because of, you know, all the pets
Yeah.
I have. But
I just wish I could
pretty
afford
comfortable.
like medical bills and stuff.
all right, like if something were to happen medically, I would definitely be screwed over right now.
Yeah, I feel you.
And that's even if I do all that negotiating and looking through the receipts and whatever that people do. I would still be screwed no matter how much they're charging me.
Exactly. I'm broke as hell.
I could take it down from 40K to 10K and I'd still be like, this is terrible news.
Yeah, literally.
So then again, with what they were making, even with the six figures, they actually went bankrupt. So when they went bankrupt in 1992, they had 2 children and they were just, you know, living super lavishly. So they should have been fine. It was just 2 adults, 2 kids. But they were just not making it. They were blowing through that money. They would have their family come to visit and they would pay for all the flights and pay for all the activities, and they would go and visit their family and they would pay for all the activities. So it was just like spending all this money super fast to the point where they were spending more money than they were making, even though it should have been plenty to live on.
Literally. Like, why do you don't need any of that. Like, stop spending your money on shit you don't need. I'm a
Right?
hypocrite for saying that. But you know
I
what?
mean, yeah, but the difference is you don't do it to the extent of literally going bankrupt.
Yeah, and
like-
also, I don't have kids. I have
Right.
animals. And that's where most of my money goes anyway.
Real. And then They made sure that they looked like they were still thriving on the outside. They did not want people to know that they were, like, broke. So they kept making those big purchases and everything. And they kept having kids. And they said that God wanted them to continue having kids. So
no, God wants you to be financially responsible.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if you're gonna have them, you need to take care of them, which, as you will all learn later, they sure didn't. So obviously they had more kids when they were already bankrupt. So
which
they
is
just
a terrible,
it just got
decision.
worse because David and Louise refused to stop getting themselves nice things. So their children kind of paid the price there. So I don't know, like, the exact time frame for when the abuse started, but their eldest child, their daughter, she attended school, and she was the only one that ever attended school. None of the other kids did. And when she was around 10 to 11 years old in 1999, she was pulled from school. And the Turpins claimed that they were homeschooling their children, but they weren't. And just before this, they had moved out of their home in Fort Worth because it was foreclosed on.
Which is still crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like,
their house was, they were living in Texas. So, like, also Texas is, like, the cheapest houses.
Yeah, literally.
And they got it foreclosed on.
Like, and you're making 6 figures. Like, come the fuck on. Stop buying stupid shit. Take care of your kids, damn.
Well, and it's like, they were really gross. Like, the home was found to be in terrible condition, just smelled really bad inside, and there was dirt everywhere and what is believed to be shit on the walls. They never confirmed that, I guess. But also, I would think you would confirm it because that's a biohazard.
That is a literal biohazard, and I'm gonna confirm it.
Yeah, I fully believe it, especially based on the later stuff. But, like, they were living in there with, like, a few children.
It still boggles my mind. I just can't.
You're like, even if you somehow are getting nice things for yourself, you're still living in that house. So I have to imagine that you just smell like shit all the time. You know
and
what I mean?
Also, like, if you're living so lavishly and you don't want anybody to find out, why don't you hire a maid with the money that you have instead of buying stupid shit?
Because then they would be spending money on that, and they didn't care about that because they didn't care.
Well, they should have
about their kids.
Because here's the thing: is even if they don't care about their kids, which obviously they don't, they care about themselves quite a lot, right?
It is crazy that they were also living in this because, like, the kids were forced to live in it, and that's the only reason that they were living there.
They chose to live like that.
Yeah, like, David and Louise were living in these houses. It gets worse. They live in worse houses after this, or they make the house worse. It's not that the houses themselves were bad. They made the houses bad. And
you know what's crazy?
They themselves were living in it. I assume maybe they didn't let the garbage and shit pile up in their own bedroom. I don't know. It seems crazy. You would still be able to smell it, though. If somebody, like, doesn't put the fan on in the bathroom, I can smell that in the living room. Like,
right. Not to go on a tangent, but it reminds me of something that I saw the other day about Shane Dawson and Ryland Adams. and Shane was talking about how Ryland leaves poopies everywhere, and Shane, like, pees in bottles because he doesn't want to get up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, and it just makes me think of that.
I don't like thinking about those men.
I don't either, but...
No, you don't understand how scary it is because, like I don't live far from them.
Party in my crazy pink wig.
Because they moved to my state and people have, like, sightings of them.
God.
Yeah. Anyway, that was just a little off topic.
It's fine. It happens.
So after they moved from their home in Fort Worth, Texas, they moved to Rio Vista, Texas. And at the time of moving, they had 7 kids. So
still insane to me. I want, like, maybe 1 or 2.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like
maybe
1, and then if I'm feeling up to it, 2. But, like,
right.
Because I think a sibling is good for you. But, like,
I agree.
So they had 7 kids at this time.
So many kids.
That move, like, marked the next stage of abuse. So things became a lot worse for the Turpin kids. They weren't allowed to eat or go to the bathroom without asking, and they would get punished physically. David and Louise would resort to hitting, choking, and whipping them with belts.
That still makes me so mad. I know I'm not like super passionate like I was the first time because I just got off work and I'm tired. But it's just like,
Well,
why
that's
the
just
fuck are you
crazy.
having these kids to torture them like
Well,
that?
and then
Like, you
like for the
really
time
think.
period, I can say that it was a little bit more normalized to like hit or whip your kids with a belt, but like the choking is still, even if you
And
try to rationalize with the time period, choking is still
and
not okay ever.
and the denying of food and bathroom use, no, that's never okay. Like, don't do that. That's
Yeah.
no, don't do this. Stop it. I'll beat the shit out of you. Don't do that to your kids.
Well, and then
If you do that to your
also
kid, I'm
they
coming for
were
you.
only allowed to shower or bathe once a year.
Like medieval peasants.
And
Literally.
then with the food and bathroom thing, they also like sometimes would say no. Like not only
Yeah.
did the kids have to ask, but sometimes their parents said no. So they
Which
would
is so
starve
stupid.
or they would like not be able to go to the bathroom and end up having to do it on themselves.
Gross. So gross. A biohazard, which is why I'm tempted to believe that it was shit in their house, the first house.
Yeah, I 100% believe
And the
it.
second.
And then even when they were allowed to eat, it was always like cheap frozen foods and bologna sandwiches. So like the cheapest stuff you can get.
Like, why wouldn't you want to give your kids the best stuff you can get? Like,
Because David and Louise liked to buy better food just to eat it in front of the kids and not give them any.
Well, you know what? I hope that they don't get to have anything tasty ever again. I hope they get to eat
They're
dirt
eating
for the
prison
rest of their
food.
lives. Well, you know what? I hope that they get to eat dirt, because even prison food is too good for them.
That's fair. And then I'm unsure on the year because different articles said different things, but it was sometime in the 2000s. They bought a trailer to go on their property, and at this point they had 12 children, and they
Too many.
moved the 10 older ones into the trailer. So 10 children in a trailer.
Ugh.
Also, at this point, their oldest, I mean, it was the 2000s. She was born in 89. So she was like technically an adult,
Yeah.
but she was like trapped there.
Stupid. Terrible. How could they?
Yeah. So the two youngest stayed in the house with the parents, and the other 10 were left to fend for themselves in the trailer. And Louise and David would drop off groceries to them weekly, but it was never enough to keep all of them properly fed. So all of them were extremely malnourished, and they looked like years younger than their actual ages. And somehow they still, kept going despite these conditions.
I just want to give these two people a really hard, disrespectful backhand.
I really just want them to go through like the worst things they could.
I think
they
that-
should have to go through what their kids did, but like
I was just about to
tenfold.
say that. I think that their punishment should be being in prison and being treated the exact same way that they treated their kids for the rest of their lives.
I
Because
agree.
the fact that you can be pregnant, which is a miracle in and of itself because not everybody can do that.
Mm-hmm.
You're creating a life, a human life. You give birth to this life, and then you basically just treat it like trash for no reason other than, I don't know,
And it's
you
not
just
that
feel
she
like
didn't
it.
want the children for whatever reason. She wanted to keep having kids. It's not like she was just getting pregnant and was like, oh, I didn't want this. No, she
Right.
wanted to keep having kids.
She wanted to keep torturing them.
It's psycho, is what
It is. Literally.
All right. And then in 2010, they moved out of Texas and they moved to California. And when they moved, neighbors looked into their old home and they found it, again, completely disgusting. And there were even dead animal carcasses, like dead cats that had been pets. And there were piles of feces and garbage. And the very most concerning thing was they found beds with ropes tied to them. So
Which,
the kids were
again,
getting tied down to beds.
I said this the first time. How the fuck do the neighbors not smell this? That's
I
literally like
don't know.
every bad smell. Every single worst smell you can think of is in that house. And you're telling me that nobody smelled it?
Mm-hmm. And even just being in a city, like I mentioned this last time, just being in a city where they have like a like butcher place, like one of those farms that does that. even just being like in a city where that happens, you can smell it throughout the whole town. Like, and that's not even like decaying ones. That's just like normal stuff. So like, you're telling me this place that was full of carcasses, shit everywhere, garbage, moldy food probably everywhere, and not getting cleaned ever.
It's a
Nobody
miracle
noticed that until they left. Or maybe they noticed and that's why they checked it out when they left. But like, why would you not try to do anything about it?
Like, call for a wellness check or something. Damn.
Like,
But also,
that is enough to get somebody put into a mental hospital for sure.
I didn't think of this the first time, but how did nobody get dysentery? Because if you're living in a
Literally.
feces covered area, it's the bacteria is going to find a way into your food, so you're technically eating shit. So you would get something like dysentery, or you would get another illness from the literal rotting carcasses, rotting food, and rotting garbage. Like, how the fuck did nobody get like a serious illness?
Yeah, well, I don't know
from
what
this?
the kids, like, what their stuff ended up being, their medical records or anything, but they probably were super sick, you know?
Yeah, probably.
Or maybe they just built up crazy immune systems and are actually
That's
better than
another
everybody
thing.
else.
Because here's the thing, is when you have a kid, like, if you keep them super clean all the time,
They're
they're
just
not
gonna
going to
get sick.
develop they're going to have a shit immune system. But if you let your kid play in the dirt, roll around in the mud, do all that stuff that parents, like, hate cleaning up after, they're going to develop an immune system, and they won't get sick as often. You should still vaccinate your children, though, by the way. Please do
100%.
that.
Yeah, I assume these kids also weren't getting vaccinated because
Yeah, probably not.
you couldn't really take them to a doctor.
No, because then they would have
Mandated
gotten
reporter.
taken away
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah, which, I mean, same reason they didn't let them go to school, mandated reporter. Like,
Right, they would have been
they knew
taken
what they
away
were doing was wrong.
immediately. And they still continued to do it, which is why...
And
Ugh.
yeah, it's super gross because they would like make the kids play that they were a happy family. They would dress them all up in matching shirts and like take photos with them and post them on Facebook.
Which is rubbing even more salt in the wound.
Yeah, these kids have to pretend that they're like a big happy family and that they love their parents, you know?
When they're literally being tortured by the people that are supposed to be nurturing, caring for them.
Well, and they don't
making
even
sure
know
that they
any better
have-
because they were raised
No.
in it. So they don't
They
know
don't
that
know.
they should do something about it.
It just
So it's
breaks
just-
my heart.
It is super sad.
Poor kids.
And then David and Louise were both obsessed with Disney. So they would go on trips to Disneyland all the time with the kids.
Always
And
the
again, those are
fucking
super
Disney adults.
expensive trips to go on. So, especially with as many fucking kids as they had, I'm shocked they didn't leave the kids at home.
When people say they hate Disney adults, they're talking about these people.
This is why I don't trust them.
Yeah, literally. Like, you can like Disney, but
The people
They're
who are like
literally
those
obsessed
Disney
with
adults
it.
that are obsessed, they're literally, there's always something where they're just a terrible person underneath it all. Like this, or like I
Yeah.
saw a video of this lady at, I don't know if it was Disneyland or Disney World, but she was just being super racist for no reason in the bathroom. Like,
well,
it was
I mean,
random.
Walt Disney.
Well,
Disney
yeah, but, like-
himself wasn't exactly the most.
But like,
inclusive
it's
guy.
the 2020s.
Yeah.
Walt Disney's been
And you're
dead
in a
for like the
bathroom.
majority of Disney at this point.
Yeah, that's true. But like for real, like you're in the Disney room, Disney World, Disney whatever.
You're supposed to be in the
bathroom,
happiest place in the world, and you're mad
and
that
you're
somebody's
being
Mexican.
racist.
Like,
What the hell?
it's crazy.
So crazy, ridiculous. I think that these people.
You know,
are
anybody
racist.
else who's in there has to have also paid like $1,000 to be there. It's crazy.
The
you know they got
Turpins
money,
were
too.
Also racist, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. The only people who
I
can
don't have
afford to
any.
go there.
I don't have anything to back that up. But they just like if you can treat your own children that way, there's no way that you're like accepting of other people.
I think they just hate everyone. Jesus.
I hate them.
I hate them. I hate them so much.
I know it's a strong word, but that's why I used it.
Exactly. And then I genuinely don't know how the photos with their kids like didn't raise more red flags, because their
Right?
oldest daughter was, like I said before, an adult woman technically, but she still looked like a
Literally.
child.
And nobody thought of any concerns that they needed to bring up, like not the literal biohazard home, not the fucking terribly skinny children.
Well, and
like,
I saw
nothing.
a thing say that like one of the family members that saw the photos on Facebook thought that their weights were a little concerning, but like they didn't do anything about it. And then
like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, like
that's the thing.
Louise's
like,
aunt or something saw it and was like, "Oh, they're a big happy family." Like again, just like perpetuating that they were this happy family because they were putting on these outfits and taking a picture together, even though the children clearly had something wrong with them. Because several of them were adults at this time.
And my thing is, I know some people say, well, I don't want to get involved. You know, that's my family member, blah, blah, blah. Who gives a shit? Those are your family members, too.
The kids are your family, too, and they need help. The children matter more.
And you know they need help. Who cares if you start a little bit of family drama? You're saving these kids' lives if you start a little bit of family drama. I mean, me personally, fuck it. Call me a drama queen. I'll do it. Like, I'm not going to just sit there and let somebody do that to their kids. Even if you know all the details or not, you can tell when somebody is underweight or malnourished.
Well, and if you know that like one of your family members is doing something like that, like you should be mad at them. So what if it's family drama?
Right.
They deserve to get the hate. Like
exactly.
I saw things about people talking about like Nicki Minaj was supporting her brother after he raped a girl.
Right.
And it's like,
well, that's literally like,
people were like, well, what would you do for your brother? I'm like, he wouldn't be my fucking
Not
brother
that.
Anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't even
funny.
see him as family anymore. I love my brothers, but I would not forgive them for that. And I wouldn't bail them out of jail. That's for damn sure.
These hoes can't be mad at Megan. These hoes mad at Megan's Law.
That shit crazy.
Had her tweaking on live for 3 days over that one.
She didn't even actually specifically call out Nicki Minaj.
She
Nicki just
didn't
took it
say
personally
anything.
because it applied.
Yeah, literally. Like, if the shoe fits, Miss Girl. Anyway.
Yeah, I just...
If the
I'm really
shoe
sad
fits,
'cause, like, her music was my
Turpin's.
childhood, but
Turpin's.
anyway.
No, for real. No, because I do love Nicki, but, like, that's not... Like, I like your music, I don't like you, you know?
Yeah. That's how it be sometimes.
Anyway,
every time
Megan
I listen to an
Stallion.
emo band. Okay.
Oh, God.
Let me get back on topic. So...
Back to the Turpin family House of Horrors.
Yes. So
God,
another thing was there were different schooling laws in California than there were in Texas. So with their requirements, David and Louise had to find like a loophole if they wanted to keep doing their shitty lives the way that they were.
Which is crazy to me. Like the fact that you
He went through so much effort to do this.
Like, just send your kids to school. Give them a bath and send them to school and start feeding them properly, you stupid hoe bags.
Literally,
anyway.
and like this is like in the 2010s, like free lunch program. They will get a meal.
I was on that shit.
All you have to do is make sure they're not dirty and send them to school. They will get lunch for free. You don't have to spend, you send them to public school, you don't even have to spend money to send them there, and then you don't even have to worry about them for like 8 hours. And somebody else will pay for their food. Like it's so easy. So anyway, these people were terrible. So they didn't do that. So with the private school laws that they have in California, David was able to establish their home as a private school and himself as the principal with his children that were young enough to, like, in the age range that needed to go to school. He established them as, like, the students in different grades. And then with the, like, laws, private schools couldn't be inspected and regulated the way that public schools were. So I don't know why there's no regulations for that, really. But he just filled out some paperwork. I hope they did. I didn't look into it. But he just filled out some paperwork and sent that in, and they were like, hey, I guess we're not going to check on your kids. They're in school.
You would think that they would at least do, like, one check just to see how things are.
Right, like, to see the place before you call it a private school. Because technically, if it's a private school, couldn't other people, like, apply or something?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. But they went on with their business as usual, being horrible parents. And in 2015, after their last child was born, they decided to renew their vows for their 30th wedding anniversary. And they brought their kids along.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
Good for them.
So they took more family photos at this event. They had them all in matching stuff. And they have a video of the ceremony where, like, they do their little vow renewals, and then like they have the kids all clapping and smiling, and it's just like insane.
It's so culty to me. It is literally so culty.
They
to
created
me.
a whole cult out of their own little family.
I do not want to throw that word around, but it just feels like they were having kids to basically just have their own little cult of people that they could just rule.
They just wanted to play God.
Literally.
Bitch, The Sims existed by now. Like,
yeah, I know.
Just play it on the computer.
Sims. Have 13 kids in The Sims. Like, at least you're not hurting an actual real person.
Yeah,
Stupid
everybody
bitch.
kills Sims, so it's normal.
Yeah, literally.
But
play Minecraft together and just start killing each other.
Yeah, there's definitely other options that they had. I mean, this was pretty recent. Like, there were options, okay? They just did not take them.
Therapy was also an option.
So true.
Not having kids was also an option.
They wanted to do this.
You know, you don't have to have kids.
They're psycho.
It's kind of an optional thing.
Literally, like, it's actually really easy not to.
Yeah, I know.
Like, shockingly easy.
Yeah.
Like, they make you worry about, like, pregnancy all the time. They're like, don't have sex, you'll get pregnant. Blah, blah, blah.
And die.
It's really it's really not that like hard to not.
Maybe I don't know.
I don't know.
About this. Maybe
like,
I'm just infertile and I can't have kids, so I think
dude,
it's easy. But...
that would make me cry.
No, for real, me too.
I'm just saying, like, birth control has existed for a long time. At this point, like, there are so many options for it. It's really
condoms are really not.
Condoms have existed for a long time. They're not perfect, but if you're on birth control and using condoms, you've pretty much covered your bases. It's very unlikely. It could happen. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. It could, but it's very unlikely, and it's like so easy to do. But she didn't want to use birth control. She wanted to have kids. She actually was telling her brother-in-law that she wanted to have another child. So she was talking about wanting to have a 14th baby.
The fact that she's allowed... This is why I think people should have to, like, take a test at least before they have kids. Or, like, be monitored.
But it's so easy, though, to, like, get pregnant and not actually have anybody really know. Because, like, you don't have to actually go to the doctor.
True.
Like, you should. It's good for you. It's good for the baby. But you could, if you wanted to, literally just, like, get pregnant and not tell anybody and stay home. Like, and not go to a doctor ever. So
I just feel like
if somebody does that, it's because you can't regulate if somebody's getting pregnant or not, you know?
True.
Especially with, like, rape being a thing that happens. But, like, you can't monitor if somebody is getting pregnant.
People try.
People try. But, like, you can't... If somebody is just living their life out in the world and they're not, like, in a facility, there's no way to, like, stop that from happening.
I'm just so sick of hearing about all these people that have all these kids and they just treat them like absolute shit and torture them all the time when there are people that want kids more than anything in this world and they can't even have them. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're not going to treat your children like they are children and like they are human beings and that, you know, they deserve to have a good life, because they do. They deserve the best of what you can give them because you brought them into this world. Then you should not be allowed to
There are people out there who, like, don't treat their human children as human children. And then there are people like us who treat non-humans like they are human children.
And that's my thing. Like
I don't understand. It's so easy to love.
Yeah, like, you have this life that you are responsible for. Why would you not want to give them the best of what you can possibly give them? Because that's what they deserve. They didn't ask to be in your home,
I don't
but
understand
they're staying.
People who don't love, like, endlessly. Because, like, I could meet an animal for the first time ever, and I'm like, I love you.
Literally.
I love you to death. I saw a cat at PetSmart. I think about him constantly.
Me too.
He would fit so well into my home.
I still think about the cat that Kyle and I wanted to adopt like a year and a half ago.
Dude,
I still think about him. I hope he's doing well.
I don't understand people who don't feel that, like, just unconditional love for, like, a creature being alive. Like,
yeah, something that's alive that you are responsible
if
for.
You
and
don't
you are
do anything
caring for.
wrong to me, then I see no reason not to, like, love that you're alive.
Exactly.
You know, I think that it's a great thing that people are alive. And, like, when I watch shows or whatever, like, I get sad if a character dies because, to me, I'm watching a person die. Like, I get sad if I pass on the street, if I pass an ambulance. I'm like, I hope that person's okay. Like, how do people not love their own children? I love everyone all of the time. Yeah. It is so hard not to.
My biggest thing with this type of person, this person that will bring a life into the world and just completely torture it. Why? Like, how?
You don't even need to have a longer question than that. Just why? It just doesn't make sense to me.
How do you get to that point? How do you get to a point of being so detached from reality that you treat somebody like that?
And, like,
for no
two
reason
people,
other than
both of these people agreed to do this somehow,
exactly.
Whether it was a verbal agreement or just something they started doing and both decided they were okay with. Somehow they both were okay with this.
I don't understand how you could be.
I don't get it. Like, it horrifies me that they went through this.
Understand.
And I mean, like, half of them, actually most of them are older than me. And, like, I still am just, like, to me, I'm thinking about these poor kids in this house.
It's not even a house. It's a trailer.
Well, they weren't in the trailer anymore. This is when they moved to California.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
So they're back in a house, but it's like a garbage house again. I'm sure it was nice when they moved in. Though.
And then it just slowly, progressively got more disgusting and more disgusting as time went on, which is another thing. Why would you want to live like that?
Mm-hmm. Like we said before, I don't... Well, and there's, like, a difference between, like, kind of on purpose letting it get to that point or, like, putting it into that point because they weren't letting their kids go to the bathroom and stuff like that. Versus, like...
Crazy.
I understand, like, sometimes things getting a little backed up when you have, like, depression or whatever.
Right, like, I'm a little behind
not or
on
whatever.
laundry,
I have depression,
you know.
But like, and I've been better about it lately. But, like, sometimes, yeah, my trash piles up a little bit. But I could not live in literal shit piles and dead animal
in
bodies.
A literal biohazard
and moldy food everywhere. Like,
a literal biohazard.
I might have, like, a Tupperware with moldy food in it that I forgot to throw away, right?
Yeah,
but, like, I'm not gonna have moldy food everywhere, and, like, if there's moldy food and dead animals and shit, their house is crawling with bugs, 100%.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And probably other vermin as well.
Especially in a hot place like California or Texas where they were living before.
I'm including the Turpin adults, the parents, as vermin in this scenario, by the way.
Oh my god, they're literal rats. Are you kidding?
No, that's disrespectful to rats. Rats
You're right.
are actually
Rats are
really, really nice creatures. Rats they may not be the most paternal things on the planet, but they are very social animals.
They're just little guys.
And they're just little guys, and they don't deserve to be slandered. The Turpin parents
I don't think that
are vermin.
Yeah, I mean, most animals aren't even that fucking bad.
Literally.
Animals wouldn't even live in that, mind you. That's probably why their cats kept dying. It was probably on
roaches
purpose.
Would.
But an animal, like...
But roaches are actually pretty clean.
I don't care.
Themselves.
They clean everything else up. They like the garbage because they eat it, but, like, whatever. Anyway, the point being, like, most animals wouldn't even be willing to live in that.
Yeah.
Like, most animals know to keep your food out of where your poop is. Like, and to not just leave shit everywhere.
Jesus. They're so disgusting. It's just disgusting to me.
And I mean, like, if they kept getting cats, even cats know you go somewhere else to do your business. Like, cats won't eat their food if you put their food too close to their litter box. That's probably how their cats kept dying. Because they wouldn't eat because they were next to a pile of shit.
If you put their food next to a water fountain. Some cats will not eat their food if it's next to a water source.
Or they won't drink the water.
Or they won't drink the water, which
weird.
is... Yeah, But these people are just like, oh yeah, 13 kids living in shit, literally, some deceased
No, you can't go
bodies. Like,
use the toilet and make it not disgusting in here. You need to piss yourself.
we want it
Why?
to be disgusting in here. So gross.
They
It
must
honestly,
have liked it. Like, they must have gotten
how do
off
you
on it
like
somehow.
living
Genuinely,
in
it makes no
filth?
sense.
Ugh. I just don't. I just can't. These people.
It's
Ugh.
so icky. Anyway,
These people
we
are
keep getting
literally
into
so
just how
icky.
upsetting this is for us, and it is very upsetting.
Literally.
But
I
after
hate them.
2015, after the like vow renewal, there were a couple more years where the abuse just kept getting worse. So rather than the ropes, like I mentioned in the old house, they started using like actual chains and padlocks to chain the children to their beds.
Terrible.
And the children were kept almost entirely in like, I don't know if it was one room or if it was multiple rooms, but they were secluded basically.
Probably just
And then-
one room, the sick fucks.
Yeah, or like a basement or something, I don't know. But the house, of course, was completely disgusting, just like their previous homes. And the filth just would get worse every day, you know? And then
Terrible.
finally, in 2018, it would come to an end because their daughter Jordan, who was then 17, had gotten a hold of a deactivated cell phone. I'm not 100% sure how she got it. I couldn't find where she got it in any of the articles I read, but she got a deactivated cell phone, and thankfully you can still call 911 with those. So she was able to go to the like emergency thing on it, and she called 911 as she was climbing out of the window with one of her younger sisters. But her sister, who was 13, was like scared, so she went back home. And Jordan, as she got further away from the house, called 911. And she told the dispatcher about the conditions of their home and the abuse from their parents. And she also told them that 3 of her siblings were shackled to their beds right then.
I am so proud of Jordan for doing this. Like, it must have taken her literally every ounce of strength in her tiny, malnourished body to make that call, to climb out that window, to finally tell somebody what was going on.
Well, and then, like,
so
mentally
strong.
to even figure out, like, all of this because she had never been to school and she was 17 and had lived that entire 17 years this way. She didn't know the area around her because she was, like, never allowed outside. She was walking in the street because she didn't know what a sidewalk was.
It just...
Like, that's how little she was allowed out of her home.
The strength that she displayed is something that is...
I'm just glad that her
touching.
and the other children, I think, might have helped her with it. But basically, like, I'm just glad that they were able to figure out that they shouldn't be in this situation.
Yeah.
Because
for
they
real.
were raised in it. So there was, like, no way for
How
them
would
to
they
know
know?
that that wasn't how everybody lived.
Right.
And they were kept inside all the time. So, like, the fact that they figured out, hey, I don't think this is what life is supposed to be. Like, thank God that they did. And they figured out how to get out. And Jordan got out of there and called the police. I don't know how she even knew 911.
Probably from her sibling that did go to kindergarten, because they did drill that into our heads.
Yeah, but that was
Into
also,
the
like,
children's heads.
in the 90s, it wasn't as
But they were still
much.
doing it.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, somebody figured it out.
Yeah.
And then when the officers
Or-
arrived, they thought that she was, like, 10 because of how malnourished she was.
Which is still crazy to me, how you can be stunted that much.
Well, and she's not even, like, the worstly stunted of them. It's so
know.
fucking sad.
I know.
But
Ugh.
she had photos of the house in her phone that she had taken with her. Because, again, luckily, deactivated cell phones still... The only
Take
thing you can't
pictures.
do is do a normal call and text.
Right.
So she proved the state of the home for them so that they would believe her. And then they went to the address to do a welfare check. And what I saw is that Louise was described as perplexed by them showing up. And she was just
Which
so confused on
still-
why they were there.
Which is crazy to me.
Which I'm
because-
assuming the second she opened the door, they were like, ooh, get a whiff of that, you know?
Yeah, literally, like, why the fuck does your house smell like a rotting shit corpse?
I mean, you
ma'am?
can't even open the door without people seeing that shit, I swear. They gotta have seen some shit.
No, for real. Or smelled it.
Instantly.
Like, come on.
Like, And then,
Ugh.
obviously, like I said, this house was disgusting. So the police go in and they find the home smelling just putrid as fuck. And it's full of garbage and dead animals and moldy food. And then finally, they get to whatever rooms the Turpin children are in. One of them was still shackled, and two of them had marks on their wrists that kind of showed that they were just released from shackles. Like, you could tell they had just been shackled. So,
but she was so perplexed, and she didn't know why they were
so
there.
I think when she opened the door, I think that David went up and unshackled two of them, but then the police were already coming in, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So he couldn't get the last one unshackled, which, I mean, it's still, the children were so bad, it didn't even matter at that point. The house was disgusting.
They were still gonna fucking
like,
take your kids and arrest you
and, like,
anyway.
they were still gonna find the shackles on the bed. Like,
they were also gonna find the cat corpses, the shit, the garbage, the moldy food, and be like, yeah, no, we're taking these kids. And
well, and all of them are filthy, and all of them are malnourished and frail, and none of them looked like they were over 18, even though, like, half of them were. Which
is still so crazy to me.
Mm-hmm. And their oldest daughter, Jennifer, she was 29 at this point, and she only weighed 82 pounds. And then
my God.
A couple of articles I saw said that their 12-year-old only had the arm circumference of a 4-month-old.
Which means that, like, broke my heart.
Literally, like, time. By 4 months old, this kid was malnourished enough to not grow past that. With the arms, at least.
It's
like,
so fucked up.
You know what I just thought of? Like Eugenia Cooney. You know who that is?
Yeah.
That's who I just thought of.
Well, her mother enables her, like, really bad.
Oh, yeah. She's, like, a victim, but she's, like, perpetuating it, too. So,
yeah,
it just sucks. There's no way to, like, fix that.
And she did get help.
But
briefly,
she's still...
But she relapsed because she's living with an enabler.
Yeah, it's really sad. But that's, like, really what it made me think of, like, how small she looks and how frail. She looks like a skeleton, like bones, and that's
for real.
Gotta be how these kids looked. Except even worse, because it's been happening since they were literal infants.
Crazy. Mm-hmm. Disgusting and crazy.
Yeah, and as most criminals do, they were like, we're not guilty when they, originally were pleading. But in 2019, their pleas changed to guilty, and they were both given life in prison. I'm not sure if they were given a specific deal or if it's just that they realized that it didn't matter or what. Because
maybe they did.
Yeah, they got charged with a couple of things. I don't have the charges written down because it was, like, too much. I was not about to go through those charges. They were upsetting. But also, at the same time, I don't think it's enough counts because it wasn't enough for each child for each thing.
It should have been.
So
that's what it should have been.
I think the problem is that they couldn't prove that the ones that were adults had been getting abused since they were children.
Oh.
Because they were, the oldest one was almost 30.
That's crazy.
So she could have just only been getting treated that way since she was an adult. So they had to charge those ones as, like, adult things. So they didn't count as, like, the child abuse stuff. But still, they got life in prison, both of them. And they can technically apply for parole after 25 years. But the article said that experts don't think that's going to happen because of how severe it was.
I'm not even an expert, and I know that shit's not going to happen.
The
second that
people
they get
will
out
fucking
anywhere,
destroy them.
Yeah, literally. Like, they're child abusers. There's people in prison that would love to see their kids more than anything in this world, and they can't. And these people are in here for doing that shit to kids. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, they're not. No, they're probably going to be in solitary for the rest of their lives, and I hope they are.
Mm-hmm. And then, to kind of go back to the kids, unfortunately, things didn't completely get better because the minors were placed in foster care, and some foster parents are abusive, and some of the ones that some of the kids were given to were. So, in 2022, the siblings started suing. I didn't look to see if this has been, like, if this is still ongoing, because it didn't say in the articles I was reading, but they started suing some of the foster parents and Riverside County, ChildNet Youth and Family Services, and the Foster Family Network, because the kids, some of them were getting physically abused, and, like, some of the foster parents were, like, trying to essay them. So
gross, disgusting.
There's just not enough, what's the word for this? There's just, like, not enough vetting of foster parents.
Yeah. And
like, it's so hard to adopt, but it's so easy to foster. Like, it's so, they literally just are like, you seem nice. Like, I know it's more in depth than that, but that's basically what it ends up being, because they need somewhere to put these kids. They don't have enough place.
The system is just so fucked, because you cannot take a child out of a nightmare situation and put them in another nightmare. That's so fucked up.
The worst part is that, I mean, this doesn't even affect this case specifically, but there are so many kids that, like, they get taken out of homes they shouldn't, and there are kids that are not getting taken out of homes that they should be taken out of. And some of those kids die.
Yeah.
Like, there was that little boy who, actually a very similar thing as what happened to the Turpin kids. There was this little boy that it happened to. Why can't I remember his name? I used to think about him constantly. I still do sometimes. But, like, his mom and I think a stepdad were, like, locking him in the bathroom, I think.
Yeah.
Do you remember that kid?
That case.
Or they would put him outside when it was snowing and stuff.
Yeah.
And he died. Oh, my God. That case hurt my heart so bad.
It always breaks my heart when people...
It's shocking that these kids were alive. You know, all of them. Because what they went through is so horrendous. Like, I just can't even imagine that.
It really is just really heartbreaking.
And then to keep going through that stuff. And the thing with that kid, the boy that it happened to, is that, like, Child Protective Services had been called and had been there and said that it was fine. And it wasn't. He was, like, super clearly, obviously being abused when they went there. They just didn't try very hard.
But that happens so often, and it breaks my heart. Because
and then there are kids who are getting removed, which it's crazy that this happens, too. It's not as common as that one. But there are kids who get removed from families that they don't need removed from.
Yeah. Like,
there are parents who genuinely love their kids, and then, like, somebody, like, makes a lie report, and, like, they're branded as bad parents forever. And stuff like that. That's crazy. There's just so many mistakes. And I get, like, there are so many kids in this world. And it's just impossible to keep up with the amount of children because there are more all of the time.
Literally every day.
But, like, to have that happen as often as it does is super concerning to me. How often kids are taken from homes they shouldn't be, and how often kids are left in homes that they shouldn't be, too. It's just... I get that there are going to be some mistakes, but, like, it's not okay to be making mistakes in this. You need to have, if you're going to make mistakes, it needs to be like, oops, forgot my pen, so I can't sign the form. Not like, oops, I didn't take this kid out of this house that I should have because I didn't investigate that fully and he died.
Like, that's not an oops.
That's not an oops. That's a, like, you should be charged for manslaughter. Like,
literally.
At least, if not full-on murder, because you didn't do your job right. That it should be a felony.
Literally. It would probably be manslaughter in terms of, like, the legal...
Yeah.
Mumbo-jumbo. It would more
But, like,
likely
if you knew he was in that
manslaughter,
situation and you let it happen, I feel like you're an accomplice.
Voluntary manslaughter.
Mm-hmm. So, that one really hurt me. This one really hurts me. But my point is the system is so fucked in so many ways.
It really is.
Which, I mean, obviously there has to be a system. There has to be.
Right.
Because these kids have to go somewhere.
But
why
it's a very big
is it so bad?
It needs to be streamlined. It needs to be vetted. All sorts of things need to happen because you cannot have our future, our literal future, and innocent lives go through these things
and
just
I think
because you didn't want to do your job.
I get how hard it's going to be, and it's a never-ending battle. It's never going to be over because there will always be more children, especially if some of these anti-abortion laws get passed all over.
Yeah.
Like, there's always going to be more kids and not enough homes for them. Just like there's with animals, there's always going to be more cats and dogs and not enough homes for all of them.
Yep.
Like, that's why we have these things. You have to have somewhere for the ones that don't have homes. But it's just
you need to be more careful with who you're selecting because people
And I know that it's hard when there's not enough
evil.
people applying for the job, right? Like, if you had a million great options, it would be a lot easier, but you don't. So I get that that's hard. But at the same time, figure it the fuck out. Like, figure out there's literally, like, if you just need more space for them, you know how many buildings are unoccupied in the US?
For real.
If the government just stopped letting them be like privately owned and not being used, so much could be done for children in foster care or for homeless people and stuff. Like, it's just, there are so many ways ridiculous. Things could be more efficient. Anyway, I can't get into that too much because somebody's going to call me out because I don't know enough to actually get into that deeply.
That's pretty funny.
I know enough to be mad about it, okay?
Yeah, exactly. I just want kids to be treated the best that they can possibly be treated. Yes. Because
like there's obviously there's like discipline and stuff, but like
of course
kids need to be loved. That is important.
And they need to be able to be kids, and they need to be able to have a good life, because that's going to affect how they carry their lives, how they treat their kids, how they do in life. You know, you cannot bring this life into this world and then just absolutely destroy any sense of anything.
I will say, I think it's, like I said, it's really easy not to get pregnant, but I also think it's far too easy for people to just create a life when it literally should be a big deal.
Yeah, like, it is a big deal.
It's a big deal. You are making
life.
A person.
That's
and they are alive. They have a soul, and they exist and have thoughts and feelings that are uniquely theirs. So the fact that you are creating them needs to be a bigger deal. Maybe that's why it's so easy for me not to get pregnant, because I think it's a big fucking deal.
Yeah, me too.
So I treat it as one.
My entire life is going to change because I'm going to be forming somebody else's.
Exactly. Kind of like, I want to be as prepared as possible. And I know there's no way to be fully prepared for those things. But like, I absolutely am going to make sure that I'm as prepared as I can be. Yeah. And I'm going to do as much research as I can leading up to it. And then for the 9 months that it takes to create it, I'm going to be doing as much research as I can during that too.
I've been doing research.
Sometimes I look up the mortality rates, though. That shit's scary. Like the pregnancy mortality rates. Whew.
Scary.
Well, and I'd be like, oh, it's this percentage. And Skylar's like, oh, that's like 20,000 people. Like, that, there's so many people. I'm like, yeah, but I could be one in 20,000. What, like one of the 20,000? Yeah. That's like not that crazy.
That's crazy.
I'm one of 20,000 people who does this other thing or whatever, you know?
Yeah, for real.
It's like saying, okay, there's 7 billion people in the world. So like this many people, like 20,000 people isn't that many comparatively. And it's like, that could be more than a town of people.
No,
an entire town of people could have the same issue. And it, like, that's concerning to me. Like, you gotta, I also, when it comes to like mortality rates and stuff, if you look at it as a percentage, like, that's not right. That's not how to look at it. Because to me, I'm like, if you say, oh, it's this percentage, that's only this many out of like how many people there are, it's so unlikely for it to happen to you. It's like, okay, if somebody looked at you and said there was a tornado, 20,000 people died, you'd take that a little more seriously. You'd be like, wow, I'm going to be really cautious about tornadoes if you live in a place where that's like a concern.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Been there. But like, it's just like I'm saying, like 20,000 people to die of something in a year, like that's still scary to me, because I could easily be one of those 20,000, and that's just in the United States. You know, that's not the whole world. And the birth, like mother mortality rates has actually been going up recently. I think a lot of it's because of home births is the thing.
Yeah, probably.
But even the people who go to hospitals, there's been a rise of people dying within a year of giving birth due to preventable causes.
Scarier.
Yeah, from preventable things, like some illness that wasn't properly checked in the hospital, where they were fine when they left, but it's still a pregnancy-related reason that they die within the year.
I'm going to live in a bubble.
Isn't that so scary?
I'm living in a bubble after I give birth.
I plan on going through so much with a doctor before I even get pregnant. Like, I need to make sure that I'm going to have a safe pregnancy. Because I'm not dying for this.
Terrifying.
I want to have a baby, but, like, I'm not willing to die for it.
Right.
Once it's alive, maybe I will. Like, once it's born. But, like, when it's not even like existed and I haven't met it yet and don't have a connection, I'm not dying for it. Are you kidding me?
For real. For real.
I don't know him. Especially if it's a boy. I don't know him.
I don't know this man.
No offense, but I want a girl because a girl would be easier for me. Because I want one.
Either way, I'm kind of screwed.
Yeah, but if it's a boy, I have to like explain sexism to him in a different way and like teach him not to do it. Whereas if it's a girl, I can just be like, you see how they're treating women? You see? Like it's that easy.
Yeah.
With a boy, you have to like teach them to give a fuck. They should just give a fuck. That's what I think. But like you have to teach them to, and that's stupid.
Either way, I'm gonna have a time because they're either gonna end up acting just like Kyle or just like me.
You want to know
and
something?
Either
I think
way,
I said to Skylar once, I was like, if I have a kid and they like ever did anything to Blair, the kid is gone. Like,
no, for real. That's so real.
Well, and it was something actually because of a true crime thing, because I saw a thing where like it was some serial killer guy's mom who like when he was a kid, like he killed their family cat and she found like the dismembered cat's body in the closet and she just like sent him to live with his grandma. Like, if you kill my cat, you are dying.
You're gone. Yeah.
If I have a child and they don't know not to hurt a cat, like, you are dying. I don't give a fuck. Especially if it was, like, Blair, because that's my baby girl. Also, great news. I just got a special guest. Come here, baby. Say hello.
Hi, Percy.
Okay, anyway. Like I said, it's just the system's a mess.
Yeah.
It needs to be better.
Yeah.
But luckily, I think that the siblings are doing a lot better now, finally.
And I hope they're thriving. I really do hope they are thriving.
Yeah. Jordan is kind of more outspoken, so she actually is, like, present on social media and stuff. She said that she wants to be, like, a motivational speaker.
I love that.
She's kind of been having, like, a social media presence. The older sister, Jennifer, also is on social media, to my knowledge. So that's something. But I'm not really going to name the rest of them because, to my knowledge, they are not on social media. None of them were named in any of the articles. So not going to bother them. But
right.
Jordan has had, like, interviews and stuff. So has Jennifer. And Jordan said that after everything that happened, she's super protective over each of her siblings. She said, nothing could ever break our bond. I always try and stay strong and positive for them.
So sweet.
That is so sweet.
Beautiful.
And she's the one who, like, got them out, you know?
So beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And then another thing I saw was that they all went and saw Justin Bieber together. So that's fun. I wish I saw Justin Bieber.
Yeah, me too,
Bieber.
Honestly. I'm not even a Justin Bieber fan. I just feel like it would heal the like 10-year-old girl in me. Cuz I used to be a Justin Bieber fan when I was like 10 and I just feel like it would heal me. It would fix me.
Justin Bieber can fix me. Anyway, okay, let's say goodbye.
Okay. Alright.
So again, I'm super sorry that this is so late. We might change our release day or something. Wednesday is rough.
Wednesday is not working
It's
out.
It's not
very
working
well.
right now. We're
not
almost 3 weeks late. I'm gonna get it out though.
It's fine.
This should be a Friday episode. If it's not, I will delete that from the recording. I think that's all I've got for this one. I'm sorry about the delay. I actually think I was worried about us having to re-record and you already having heard it, but I honestly think we talked more in this one than we did in the other one.
There's more. Yeah, we did. Well, it's because of our tangents.
Yeah, but
and also,
some
of them
were actually related, so it was good.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I think we're good here.
I
feel good about it.
Cool.
Right. Bye, guys. Right. We'll see everybody next week.
See you next week. Ish.
Bye.
Bye.